So the American League Central is the division with all the winning teams, just like we all predicted.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. I have been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I'm now in my sixth full season here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And I'm going to tell you that today, well, first of all, I got to tell you, I had a slight, if someone's listening to the live feed right now, just make sure that if I'm having a slight technical issue, let me know that you can still hear me, because there was a significant glitch there. But we're doing it live. We're going to Bill O'Reilly this, and we're gonna do it live. And my Well, I'm just telling you that today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the place for you to go to for all your ticket needs, especially now as we have all sorts of great sports events happening right now, whether it's the NBA Finals, it's the Stanley Cup Finals, or every single day you've got a whole bunch of baseball games going on, and everything is glorious. And where do you go? You go to Game Time. You get the great views from your seats, and you get yourself the best deals. Now, Game Time is the ultimate app for your tickets. Create an account, use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Yeah, my computer froze as I'm doing a live show, and I couldn't get the Game Time script up in time. So do what I did. I did the best I could from memory. Sometimes that's what you can. That's all you can do. Sometimes that's all you can do. And sometimes you find yourself putting on a winning product, and sometimes you see all the screens and everything pop up in a weird way, and you can't get through it. Well, it is late on Friday. The Stanley Cup Finals could end tomorrow or on Saturday, and the NBA Finals is going to go on for one more day, and we are going to be going on covering Major League Baseball like crazy. The Oakland A's, by the way, I'm still hosting Locked On A's these days. The Oakland A's are on a 7-game losing streak, and 3 out of their last 4 games that they lost have been walk-off losses. It is absolutely bananas. Hey, let's just go right now. I'm going to do my backup plan here because something's going wrong with my computer right now. All the games from Friday are over, so let's just go around the league right now. The Cubs, they're falling like a rock, and the team that a lot of people thought were going to be winning the National League Central handily, they got shut out by the Cardinals, and it was something else. Dylan Carson got a big RBI single in that 3-0 there. It was a bad night if you were a Boston sports fan. You thought you were going to see your team winning the NBA championship, but instead they got trounced, and the Red Sox got hammered by the Yankees. And hey, Red Sox fans, don't boo Verdugo. He was traded. Okay, the team traded him away, so that's why he's a Yankee. And oh, by the way, the boos didn't help, as he just helped the Yankees clobber the Red Sox 8-1. Hey, 8-1 was also the score of the Nationals Marlins game, as the Nats scored 7 runs in the third inning. Lane Thomas got a big 3-run homer there. The Nats are hanging around right now. In the game that was the matchup of the two teams that I picked to go into the World Series, I predict to be Philadelphia versus Baltimore. And if today's 5-3 extra inning win by Philadelphia is any indication, It's going to be a fun. Would be a fun series. Anthony Santander hit a game-tying home run, and there's a it was a wild, crazy game. And in the end, the Phillies prevailed 5-3. The Blue Jays don't understand why they haven't made a managerial change. They're already starting to trade away some of their players. BGO has been traded to the Dodgers. And here we are. We're in mid-June, and the Blue Jays are 3 games under 500. They lost to the Guardians. Hold on, we'll talk a little bit about them in a second. Some people got on me for the show that I did the other day where I said the Mets should start to sell. They won again 2-1 over San Diego, but I stand by. They're better off filling up their farm system with young players than going for it this year. The Atlanta Braves and the Tampa Bay Rays. Do you know the Rays are currently 4 games under 500? The Braves are, they're starting to win games again, but they're not nearly the powerhouse we thought they'd be, but we'll see. The Astros cut Abreu. Remember how that was such a great acquisition? Everyone was loving it. The defending champs brought in the 2020 AL MVP. Well, you too can get the AL MVP because he's been cut. But the Astros and Brown wound up blanking the Tigers 4-0. I mentioned the Twins and the A's. Fun game between the Reds and the Brew Crew. The Brewers had a rally in the ninth, but came up a run short. Pirates won 5-2 over the Rocks as they're hanging around. My mom texted me to let me know how bad Apple TV is. I don't understand why you just don't have a premium MLB package that you can just click and all the games you can watch. I'm willing to pay extra. You're willing to pay extra. The Giants wound up losing to the Angels 8-6, but I couldn't watch the game because I do not have Apple TV, and I live in Los Angeles County, and the Angels play in Orange County, so naturally they're blacked out. The Rangers and the Mariners won a game. Remember, the Mariners are still in first place. Mitch Garver hit a 2-run home run. That was the difference of the 2-1 victory there. And LA beat the Royals 4-3. Freddie Freeman got the go-ahead single there. Now, it's interesting if you take a look at the standings in the American League right now. There's an interesting thing going on. The American League Central, a lot of people thought was going to be one of the weaker divisions in baseball. And yet here we are. We're sitting here in the middle of June. And in the American League playoff race, you have 3, count them, 3 AL Central teams. You got the Cleveland Guardians, you got the Kansas City Royals, and you got the Minnesota Twins. And the scary thing about the Minnesota Twins is Carlos Correa is heating up big time. Big time. He got a 5-hit game the other day, and he's right in the middle of everything. He's remembering that he's a big-time superstar. There are 3 teams who are above 500 in the American League Central. In the National League, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams who are above 500. That's almost as many as there are in the American League Central. The teams who are above 500 in the National League are the Phillies, the Braves, Milwaukee, Los Angeles, and San Diego by 1 game. So right now, there are 3 playoff teams in the AL Central. Now, there's also the worst team in baseball, which is the Chicago White Sox. But you have a potential scrum. Now, right now, the Guardians have a 6-game lead over Kansas City, and Minnesota's behind by 7.5. But we have seen in baseball, this has happened before, where a 6-game lead, especially chasing a team like the Cleveland Guardians, who are not necessarily a powerhouse, you could make up 6 games, especially when you get some head-to-head matchups, or if the Guardians come a little bit back down to earth. Kansas City obviously has a ton of talent. They have an MVP candidate in Witt and a Cy Young candidate in Lugo. The Twins, as I said before, are starting to get some of their top guys heating up, and that's no easy task right there. And Cleveland, who is one of the biggest surprises of baseball, as they are currently 21 games above 500 right now, are getting fantastic offense. Ramirez is right in the middle of it, of course, but the David Frys of the world are contributing. The Stephen Kwans of the world, he's been fantastic. And they get big power out of Josh Naylor, big power out of Romero. Fry is giving them a lot of power. And the pitching staff, while not the superstar stud-filled pitching staff of the past, Tanner Beebe and Logan Allen. Well, Logan Allen's actually not had a very good year, but Tristan McKenzie and Class A still has a sub-1 earned run average, and there's a great strikeout to walk ratio and a fantastic strikeout to innings pitch ratio. Cleveland just looks really good. Well, I'm telling you something right here and now, and listen to me. It is critical if you are Minnesota, Cleveland, or Kansas City to try to win the division. Yes, I know you can punch the ticket with a wild card and get in that way, but there's something to be said about, first of all, avoiding this Yankee team, which is playing unbelievable baseball right now and still don't have Garrett Cole back. You win the division and finish ahead of the AL West, you wouldn't have to face the Yankees to the League Championship Series. If you're the AL Central, that has to be somewhere in the back of your mind, that the route to the ALCS is a lot easier if you get that division crown, which means in the next month and a half, fill in whatever holes you have. Even if it's not a spectacular fill-in, remember what the Braves did a few years ago when they were able to get Rosario and Soler and Peterson and some of the other players who were just able to fill holes. You have to try to win that Central. If you're the Twins, you're getting some great stuff out of Correa now. Figure out the little holes you have to fill in, because win the division and finish ahead of whoever's in the West, and you may have a clear shot at it. Because as it would be right now, because yes, it's very early to be looking at playoff matchups, but it's not too early to think about where you will be in the world, especially when you consider the fact there's only a month and a half before the trade deadline comes. The Yankees and the Guardians would be the teams with the buys. Mariners would play the Twins. Baltimore would play KC. And so chances are the Guardians would get the winner of the Seattle versus the Twins series. Cleveland could beat, any one of those teams could beat either Minnesota or Seattle. Of course, Minnesota's aiming for the division themselves. This is the advantage. Now, I am not a fan of keeping the divisions, especially if we're doing things like that. I think we should just get rid of the divisions, provided we're not realigning. If we're still doing American League, National League, get rid of the divisions and have the top two teams get the buys and 3, 4, basically like they have. But you don't get special treatment for being a division winner. If the top two teams are in the same division, then guess what? That's the way it's going to be. As it is right now, the top two teams are in different divisions, the Yankees and the Guardians. The Yankees are going to be great, especially if they get Cole back. But win that division, and do you know what? Thank me later, because this could be a year. We haven't seen an American League Central team in there since, I think Cleveland 2016. So win that division. It's critical. It's not a small thing. And the fact that the AL Central is so competitive right now, let me tell you something, friend. It's going to make for a very interesting run-up to the trade deadline. We here at Locked On MLB, we pride ourselves on giving you the latest news for all of Major League Baseball, whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the postseason. It's year-round. But do you know what's also year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season's over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garner your wages, levy your bank accounts, and seize your properties. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax expert at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. I've had situations based on how I work where sometimes they don't always take the taxes out of it. Sometimes it's 1099, sometimes it's cash. And if I didn't have someone looking after what I'm doing, I might be hit with a huge payment that I owe. And that's why you need people like Tax Network USA on your side, because they've got over 14 years of experience with an A+ rating of the Better Business Bureau. Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters like I have with those 1099s that require planning, or you finally hit the parlay this season and you need to correctly file it, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on. Once again, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/locked on and take a look at the description below. Hey, where is your hub for getting your sports news and sports takes? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming you get from some other places. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. All right, I'm a little behind in some of the viewer comments that I've got on YouTube and other places, so let's take a look at some of them. I talked about the Mets and how I think they should take advantage of the fact that it is a seller's market and they should try to get as many players to just flush their farm system out. Bob Coolion 2449 said this is way too early in the season to advise the Mets on who they should trade. Bob, I could not disagree with you more. This is the ideal time because the trade deadline is coming up in about a month and a half. So you have to at least have a little bit of a sense of where you want to go and who you want to trade. And maybe a player will have more value if you trade them now. And the team, as I said, the AL Central teams are all looking for pieces to improve their club. I bet one of them is going to pick up Jose Abreu because, hey, who knows? Maybe you can have a good final 2/3 of the season as he has to dust off his pride. Oh, why not? But if you've got the Mets and you've got players like Starling Marte, or you've got, some of these players who could maybe be helpful to a team, you may get a better player in return if you get going a little bit early. On the other side, you got John Cummings, 5350, says, I don't think people understand the Mets are going to be sellers regardless of trying to compete for a playoff spot. They're going to get rid of expiring contracts while hoping that their minor league depth can bring something positive at the end of the year. If you don't think they're going to shop older players, regardless of where they stand in the wild card race, you're either ignorant or wearing blinders. Now, I'm not going to throw stones there, but I kind of agree with a lot of stuff you just said. With Frontier, again, more about the Mets episode. Frontier 6937. They need to eat a lot of dough. McNeil, Marte, Senga, Nimmo, all horrible contracts. And then there's the Lindor contract, which is beyond absurd. And he goes on. Large long-term contracts with guys over the hill. Cohen is an imbecile. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not an imbecile. Okay. He is new to the party. What he was trying to do was he took one look at the Mets and said, hey, this is a team that needs to win a World Series now. Maybe I can go buy one. And they got to the playoffs. If they had a slightly better September, they probably would have been the division title. And if they had wound up going to the World Series the way the Phillies did as a wild card team, the way the Diamondbacks as a wild card team, you would think, oh, great. But it didn't work. And they were smart enough to cut bait. Is he an imbecile? No. His first attempt didn't work. And that's a much, much different thing than being an imbecile. The last one is this is actually, I don't have it. I don't have this one printed up here, but GKEZLE said, why wouldn't Trevor Hoffman in the Hall of Fame? He is the second most career saves of all time for a closing pitcher. I had said that I'm not a big fan of Hoffman in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. I understand a lot of people think Hoffman was a Hall of Famer. Here are my issues with him. First of all, he became the second career saves leader at that time when saves were reduced to a one-inning save as opposed to a multi-inning save that the Suitors and the Gossages and the Raleigh Figures would have to do. Hoffman's also came up really small in some of the big moments, postseason moments he's had. whether it's letting up the Brocious home run, whether it's losing a playoff game in 96, whether it's blowing the lead in game 163 against Colorado. It seems like every time there's a big event for Trevor Hoffman, the few times he's had to show off how great he is, he didn't come off that great. And so maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't mind that he's in the Hall of Fame. It doesn't keep me up at night. I just never voted for him because he came up small in the big moments. And that to me means more than piling up a lot of one inning saves. Is it a harsh crowd? Maybe I'm being tough. By the way, Steve Colatrella said you need to say these things about the A's organization on Locked On MLB. What he's referring to was there's an episode that I shot in Cooperstown. By the way, I had a great time in Cooperstown. I'm glad I'm back though. Where I basically went off on Fisher, the owner of the A's, and talked about why he needs to be removed. And I said that on Locked On A's, but Stephen Colatrella made the point that I need to say this on the national show too. So it's not just A's fans and preaching to the choir. More people need to know a little bit about how incompetent he is. So when we come back from our break, I'm actually just going to play that clip that he's talking about from Locked On A's, because I could try to recreate it right here, but instead I'm going to show you the clip where I'm wandering around Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, and lo and behold, I talked about the fact that I believe at this point the commissioner needs to step in. So many great sporting events are going on right now. You got the NBA Finals, you got the Stanley Cup Finals, you got baseball happening all the time, and all these people are going to be focusing on Game 5 of the NBA Finals in Boston. Celtics up 3-1. Getting tickets to the NBA Finals is even faster and easier if you use Game Time. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals and all-in prices, let me tell you something. This is the place to get your tickets. Now, they have wonderful, wonderful services that they have there. You have last-minute deals, save up to 60% of buying last minute of sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever. You get zone deals. You can save even more when you choose a section like Game Time, choose the seats, and you get the great seat view, panoramic view. Oh, it's fantastic. Here's what you got to do. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices. Do you know what they are? They are guaranteed. This is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's available on the Amazon Fire TV and the free TV channel app. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channel app. All right, as requested, here's a little bit of my anti-Fisher rant. Some of you who don't know or don't follow the A's as intensely as I do for Locked On A's, these are my thoughts on what they need to do. And this is a little taste for those of you who haven't been following Locked On A's, the other podcast I do here. It's a fun show. So here I am talking about Fisher and what needs to be done with him.
I'm a little cynical right now. And I don't like to be cynical at Cooperstown. This feels like a place you should feel joy. As I said, it's the closest thing I'm going to feel to spirituality. But the fact of the matter is this. The A's are doing so many things just ridiculous. They're just stupid. And they seem to be almost alienating the people of Las Vegas before they step foot in Las Vegas as a team. You know, they've already heard that they're trying to do things like, let's have 7 or 8 games in a neutral site instead of Las Vegas. Wait a second, I thought you were moving to Las Vegas because you were going to get big, huge crowds there. I thought you were moving to Las Vegas because you were expecting to have, a packed house all the time, especially right out of the gate. I mean, goodness gracious me. Isn't the whole point of the A's wanting to go to a place like Vegas is they thought they could sell out the dump? And now I made this point the other day, but shouldn't this be the honeymoon period? When you're talking about a new potential market, a new potential city that's going to be your permanent home, as the A's, ever since the days of Connie Mack fading badly, have been looking at other places to play. They moved to Kansas City, but they had their eyes on LA. And then Finley looked at the team and tried to move into any team in creation, almost to Louisville, almost to Atlanta, almost to Dallas. Finally to Oakland. And once they got to Oakland, they hadn't finished unpacking before they were looking at New Orleans, Denver, bunch of other places along the way. And now it's, will it be Fremont? Will it be San Jose? Will it be Portland? Now it's supposedly Vegas by way of Sacramento. And this is supposed to be the big landing spot that finally, for the first time since they were in Philadelphia, that there'd be a sense of permanence. Even though they spent more time in Oakland than they did in Philadelphia, there was a sense the whole time while they were in Oakland that they were looking at other places. It's that meme of the guy looking at the pretty woman walking past him while the girlfriend has a horrified look on her face. That's been the A's. And the horrified girlfriend has been whatever city they're playing in. And the cute girl passing by is almost every city in the union. And so Vegas, really? We're already looking away from Vegas? And there was a player poll that was published, I think it was in The Athletic, about how there was a poll of what are the worst organizations and the organizations that you would not want to sign with. And that if there were all sorts of different questions, like if, what organizations are the best run that you would, all things being equal, you would sign a contract there instead of somewhere else. And Atlanta was like through the roof. People loving that organization. Of course, there's tax breaks of living in Georgia. A lot of players are from the South. The Braves are an incredibly smart run organization, and who, by the way, handled their moving the stadium a little more classy than the A's did. So that was through the roof, the number one pick. But along the way, 25 of the 30 franchises got positive votes. Oh, they're well run. Guess which one got the worst? No, seriously. Guess. Everyone talked about virtually all the players who were polled were saying that the A's were the worst run organization, and they could see why. They're cheap. They treat their players terribly. They treat the fans terribly. They don't invest in the team. They pocket everything. And so this is the organization that is going to be coming to Las Vegas. Really. And that immediately they're souring on Las Vegas. If I were Las Vegas, because mind you, they haven't built anything on the Tropicana site. They haven't raised one dime of public funding or spent one dime of the allotted public spending. There's no way Fisher has the money to make up the delta. And we've seen that nobody, if the promise is, and this is why this is not insignificant, if the promise is, when we get to Vegas, we'll put a quality product on the field, exactly what evidence do we have that they'll come within 1,000,000 miles of doing that? Exactly what evidence do we see that Fisher would spend $1 on this team? Seriously, what? And because they're going to play at a minor league facility, so it's not like they're going to have a giant influx of cash. And teams are going to show up to a minor league facility. Potential free agents are going to look at go like, they don't even know where the hell they're going to play. And this organization ran the A's into the ground and profited from it and screwed over the people of Oakland and screwed over the fans of Oakland and didn't do anything to make it a fan-friendly or a player-friendly situation as an organization. So sit here and remind me why a free agent would even pick up the phone from a call from the A's unless it was an absolute last resort. Unless it was basically, wow, I got nothing. I got nothing. And they're going to expect to put a quality product on the field. I've made this point before. I'm going to make it again. At one point, for the good of the game, it was the right thing to remove McCourt as the owner of the Dodgers. At one point, for the good of the game, it was the right thing to have a little bit of a carousel of owners installing John Henry with the Red Sox and Loria with the Marlins. Now, it didn't quite work out as well as people had hoped regarding that. Well, it worked out fine for the Red Sox. They won a bunch of World Series. But at least the Marlins got a World Series for their trouble. Whether or not Loria was good for baseball, that's up for another debate. But it was certainly McCourt being removed and Marge Schott being suspended and removed were good for baseball, and the commissioner had to step in and do something. Well, something has to be done here because there's a whole franchise here that is being absolutely derailed by one group, the Fisher Group, and they're bungling the move. They are absolutely bungling the move. They're making the move of Washington from Montreal look smooth in comparison. No franchise move is completely slick. No franchise move is completely smooth. But this has just turned into an utter disaster because no one knows what the hell is going on. And there isn't a prayer that the A's will put together a quality product once they get to Las Vegas. You know that. We don't even know if they're going to get there. For the good of the game, you got to get someone new in there. Now, and again, I understand the ship has sailed for the A's staying in Oakland. I get that. I do. And it's heartbreaking, but it's true. But maybe the team could survive in Sacramento. Who knows? Maybe they could in Las Vegas, but it won't be with this ownership. It will not be with this ownership. And the commissioner of baseball has to step in and do something because, well, the health of the game depends on it.
So that was me. I'm at Doubleday Field in Cooperstown when we shot that, in case you're wondering where the hell that was. So that's a little bit of my thoughts that I originally aired on Locked On A's, and I'm expressing right here. So follow us at Locked On MLB on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, pointing out the importance of the Central and the importance of kicking Fisher out of the A's organization. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.